Chapter 9. My father makes a bridge. What? A bridge? I don't remember that he has tools in his knapsack for cutting down trees or rope or making a bridge, so that's hard to believe that he's going to make a bridge. He has his jackknife, but he can't make a bridge with just a knife. Okay, let's read and find out. My father walked back and forth along the bank, trying to think of some way to cross the river. He found a high flagpole with a rope going over to the other side. The rope went through a loop at the top of the pole and then down the pole and around a large crank. A sign on the crank said, "To summon dragon, yank the crank. Report disorderly conduct to gorilla." From what the cat had told my father, he knew that the other end of the rope was tied around the dragon's neck, and he felt sorrier than ever for the poor dragon. If he were on this side, the gorilla would twist his wings until it hurt so much that he'd have to fly to the other side. And if he were on the other side, the gorilla would crank on the rope until the dragon would either choke to death or fly back to this side. What a life for a baby dragon. Oh. My father knew that if he called to the dragon to come across the river, the gorilla would surely hear him. So he thought about climbing the pole and going across on the rope. The pole was very high, and even if he could get to the top without being seen, he'd have to go all the way across, hand over hand. The river was very muddy, and all sorts of unfriendly things might live in it. Yeah. But my father could think of no other way to get across. He was about to start up the pole when, despite all the noise the monkeys were making, he heard a loud splash behind him. He looked all around in the water, but it was dusk now, and he couldn't see anything there. "It's me, Crocodile," said a voice to the left. "The water's lovely, and I have such a craving for something sweet. Won't you come in for a swim?" Would you go in for a swim? A pale moon came out from behind the clouds, and my father could see where the voice was coming from. The crocodile's head was just peeping out of the water. "Oh, no, thank you," said my father. "I never swim after sundown, but I do have something sweet to offer you. Perhaps you'd like a lollipop, and perhaps your friends would like to have lollipops too." "Lollipops?" cried the crocodile. "Why, that is a treat. How about it, boys?" A whole chorus of voices shouted, "Hurrah, lollipops!" And my father counted as many as 17 crocodiles with their heads just peeping out of the water. "That's fine," said my father as he got out the 24 pink lollipops and the rubber bands. "I'll stick one here in the bank. Lollipops last longer if you keep them out of the water, you know. Now, one of you can have this one." And the crocodile who had first spoken swam up and tasted it. "Delicious, mighty delicious," he said. "Now, if you don't mind," said my father, "I'll just walk along your back and fasten another lollipop to the tip of your tail with a rubber band. You don't mind, do you?" "Oh, not in the least," said the crocodile, licking the lollipop. "Can you get your tail out of the water just a bit?" asked my father. "Yes, of course," said the crocodile, and he lifted up his tail. Then my father ran along his back and fastened another lollipop with a rubber band to the tip of his tail. "Who's next?" said my father, and a second crocodile swam up and began sucking on that lollipop. "Now you gentlemen can save a lot of time if you just line up across the river," said my father, "and I'll be along to give each of you a lollipop." So the crocodiles lined up right across the river with their tails in the air, waiting for my father to fasten on the rest of the lollipops. The tail of the 17th crocodile just reached the other bank. Oh my goodness. And that brings us to chapter 10. Can you imagine lollipop at the end of his tail, and then the next crocodile sucking lollipop, and a lollipop at the end of his tail, and the next crocodile sucking lollipop, and lollipop all the way across the river. And Elmer walks all the way across the river on the backs of crocodiles. I love it. That's hilarious. Let's take a break for a minute and talk. The lollipops are for the crocodiles? Really? How could we have ever guessed that? Or predicted that? How could we have ever figured that out? That's ridiculous. I love it, but it's hilariously ridiculous. Making a bridge of crocodiles across the river by tying a lollipop to the end of the tail, and then the next alligator sucks on lollipop, and he walks across the alligator and ties a lollipop onto his tail, and the next crocodile, they're not alligators, crocodile comes over to suck the lollipop, and Elmer walks along his back all the way across the river. Oh, I love it. I wonder if I could ever have that great of an idea if I was writing a story like this. It's such a great idea. I think the author really spent time thinking of fun things that could happen in an adventure. Because there's so many fun, freaky, hilarious things that happen in this book. I love the crocodile bridge with lollipops. That's great. Oh, and the rubber bands to attach the lollipops to their tails. Let's read some more. This is the end of the book. Let's finish the book. Sometimes I get a little sad when I finish a book because it's over. But you know what? There's another thing good readers do, which we can do with this book. You can do it with this book. Good readers reread books. Reread means read it again, a second time, and even a third time if you're trying to learn something from a book. Good readers reread books. If you really like this book, you could read it if you can read, I think it's a 4th grade level book. So if you can read 4th grade books, then you could read it. You could ask your parents to read it to you. You could listen to me read it again. You could listen to the video over and over, right? You could listen to this book lots of times if you love it. Good readers reread books. Let's finish the book. My Father's Dragon.